A few years ago, when I was still in high school, something happened that I can't fully explain to this day. Back then, my best friend Lucas and I had a habit of wandering around abandoned places after dark, mostly to take pictures and scare ourselves for fun. There was an old retirement home on the edge of town, completely abandoned after a fire had damaged part of the building. Everyone said the place was unsafe, but that only made it more tempting. One Saturday night, around 11 p.m., we went there with our phones and a cheap flashlight. The whole building was surrounded by a metal fence, but one section near the back had been bent open, just enough for us to slip through. Inside, the air smelled like wet paper and old wood. As we walked across the cracked tiles, the beam of the flashlight trembled because Lucas kept shaking from excitement. We reached the main hallway. On both sides, rooms stretched into darkness. Most of the doors were missing or half-burned, and graffiti covered the walls. But what bothered me most was that everything felt recently disturbed. Dust was swept aside in strange patterns, as if someone had been pacing in circles. At the end of the hallway, a single door was still intact, thick metal like something you'd see in a hospital. Painted on it, in red, were the words, "Don't open. She's still inside." Lucas laughed nervously and said it was just kids trying to be edgy. I wasn't so convinced, but he pushed the door anyway. To our surprise, it opened easily. The room beyond it was pitch black except for a faint green glow coming from the far corner, a small emergency exit sign still working after all these years. The floor was covered with old medical papers and a collapsed wheelchair. We stepped inside, then we heard it, a soft tapping, like fingernails gently brushing against metal. Lucas swung the flashlight toward the sound, and the beam landed on a hospital bed tucked into the corner. The sheets were pulled tight and perfectly clean, as if someone had just made the bed. At the foot of it was a pair of small metal restraints, broken. The tapping came again, this time behind us. I spun around, and for maybe half a second I saw her in the light. A woman's silhouette, thin and impossibly tall, standing in the doorway. Her head was tilted to the side, her long hair hanging like a curtain. Her face was hidden, but one thing was clear. She was smiling, far too wide to be natural. Lucas screamed and the flashlight slipped from his hand. The beam rolled across the floor wildly as we both ran for the hallway. But the sound of tapping followed us, faster now, sharper, like metal scratching against metal. When we reached the fence outside, Lucas pushed me through first. As I turned to help him, he froze. His eyes went wide. I followed his gaze back to the building. She was there, standing in the doorway. Same shape, same tilted head, same impossible smile. Except this time she was holding something, our flashlight. She lifted her arm and let the beam shine directly on us. The tapping stopped. The smile never changed. We didn't speak a word to each other the whole way home. The next morning, Lucas called me. His voice was barely a whisper. He said the flashlight had been left on his front porch, still turned on, still glowing. I never went back to that place again, because whatever we saw that night, it followed us home.